Hi folks, welcome to your Gersnet Friday night preview pod, coming to you in association with Forest Precision Engineering. My name is Alec Anderson and I'm recording this little video just about 10 minutes before 9 p.m. on Friday the 29th of December 2023. Castaway, starring Tom Hanks and Helen Hunt. That's just starting on Channel 4 plus 1. That'll be on there in about 10 minutes time. And that's a guy, seen Castaway? The plane crashes and he ends up on the desert island. I think, and Helen Hunt's his girlfriend, but by the time he gets rescued, she's moved on. She's married. Who's the guy? Mr. Big. The guy who plays Mr. Big in Sex and the City. So it's a bit of a spoiler there. But I don't really. Is there anything else to discuss? It's that dead zone, and it's just that time of year. You're just recovering from the Christmas celebrations, all the excesses of Christmas, and you've got to get the supplies in that, start building yourself back up for the bells, and it's just you just want to kind of chill, really zone out. There's not a lot going on, not a lot to discuss. So that's my Christmas tree. That is a Christmas tree behind me. I'm sorry, I was just trying to do a bit of kind of seasonally appropriate decoration, try to give you something nicer to look at than my fat coupon when I'm doing these videos, but of course it just went tragically wrong. I am no interior decorator. It looks like a kind of glorified pot plant, doesn't it? The pot's bigger than the plant. It's been attacked by Liberace's stylist, or Shirley Bassey. Maybe it looks like from Shirley Bassey, we kind of the way I've put the tinsel on there and it's totally failed. It looks like wee feather boas or something like that. But there's lights in there. Battery ran out. And I don't know if you can see, just at the top, the top bit kind of hanging over to the left, it's gone a bit limp, if you want to make kind of jokes about how appropriate that is. It's a figurine of Gabriel Batistuta, Batty Goal, his total hero of mine. One of the guys I never actually saw playing, but absolutely loved him. Never seen him playing in the flesh, but I like Archangel Gabriel. You're supposed to find an angel at the top of the tree, Archangel Gabriel Batistuta, but I used to watch him in the Champions League and ITV, then watch him in Serie A and Channel 4, like Roma, Fiorentina, Argentina. Love Batty Never seen him play in the flesh, but I keep looking through for charity games and that. Maybe he's playing one of the charity games for veterans, old stars. I'd go down to Old Trafford or maybe even down to Wembley to see him. And actually, I don't even mean that. He scored a cracking Champions League goal, you'll remember, against Arsenal at the old Wembley. And he scored against Manchester United at Old Trafford, an absolute belter of a goal for you outside the box. Just an electric player, Gabriel Batistuta. But I've totally disrespected him by trying to put him on the top of that tree there, sellotape him up there, and he's just fell off to the side because he's too heavy. The red and green makes it look like kind of Maritimo. Can remember we played Maritimo in the UEFA Cup, beat them in penalties under Alec McLeish. But I think the most famous kind of red and green striped kit will be Fluminense. That's probably the most famous red and green kit in the world, is the Fluminense. And I actually put that tree together, that wee decoration attempt together the very day that Fluminense lost the Club World Championship final to Manchester City. So I am a jinx. I am a footballing jinx. So would you really want me previewing a Rangers trip to Parkhead for the second Old Firm game of the season at 12:30 tomorrow? Aye, I was just joshing you there. What am I like? I'm about a scamp, a total rapscallion, just winding you up there. Of course, I'm here to talk about the first Old Firm game of the season. What's going to happen, Trips? What is going to happen? Is there going to be some sort of horrible refereeing controversy, some sort of downright suspiciously poor decision taken by the video assistant referee or the analogue referee, the one that's actually out on the park, or the assistant referees, or the fourth official, or the referee and supervisor? Some sort of really controversial, dodgy decision that needs probably investigating by the police. If we're going to be honest about it, are the Rangers players going to do something disrespectful? Are they going to do something totally immoral, something that insults the ball boys or the dead relatives of people in the crowd or something? They're going to do something totally out of order, because you know what they're like. Because Rangers fans going to embarrass themselves with their sectarianism. I know they're not actually at the game, but you can probably hear them in their televisions outside your house or something like that. If you're not at Parkhead watching the game, or maybe there's some of them, they'll probably infiltrate. They'll probably get into Parkhead tomorrow and they'll be singing something that's totally about the Pope, or about Irish republicanism, or about the Baran, or that guy McGowan for the Pogues, or whatever. And it'll be insulting, and Celtic fans won't dare because they'll be scared, because Rangers fans are threatening. We're very threatening. We're a public order nuisance as far as I'm concerned. Or will Celtic win and we'll be allowed to talk about the football? Who knows? But I just know one thing is I can't stand these games. I can't stand Old Firm games until they're over and Rangers have won them, which hasn't been happening as often as we'd like over the past couple of seasons. Celtic fans are terrible, aren't they? Celtic fans are terrible people. No wonder there's so much trouble and so much animus between them. See last season, April last season, we played Celtic in the Scottish Cup semi-final at Hampden. They beat us. It was an awful game. One of the ones that just told us maybe Michael Beale's not as good as we thought he is. And I just, in the Thursday night before it, Marcus Tavernier, James Tavernier's brother, but Marcus Tavernier scored for Bournemouth against, I don't even know who. It was a Thursday night game in English, but it's unusual for an English Premier League game to be taking place in a Thursday night in April. And it just flashed up on my phone on the Thursday night. Piss part, you've got the BBC Sports app. It just flashed up. Tavernier scores. And I thought, oh, that's quick, because we're playing Scottish Cup semi-final against Celtic at Hampden on Sunday, and there's Tavernier. Tavernier has scored on the Thursday night, just like what had happened at that point in the previous season when James Tavernier scored the 2 goals against Braga at Ibrox on the Thursday night before we beat Celtic in the Scottish Cup semi-final after extra time at Hampden the following Sunday. And I just put this up because it's a coincidence. It's a football coincidence. I just posted this on my Twitter account. You know me, I like to, it's just a football. I'll say things like Real Madrid, they won the European Cup and the new version of the European Cup, the Champions League. They won the 2 different versions at Hampden. They won the European Cup in 1960 at Hampden. They won the Champions League at Hampden in 2002. And Barcelona won the European Cup and the Champions League at Wembley. And that's kind of that's kind of thing I like. I was just stating a football coincidence, but we lose that semi-final back in April there. On the Sunday, and I'm meeting some pals for some food and some bevy after it, and I walk into said establishment after the game, and my phone starts going off. Missed it. This these folk had never heard of. How'd that work out for you? Aye, Tavernier scoring Thursday night didn't mean anything. It was the rank Tavernier. I didn't win the semi-final this year, did you? And I'm like, what? It was Celtic fans. People I didn't even know had somehow seen this tweet of mine, and I know social media, that's what happens. I try to curate my Twitter account. I don't want to get out. I'm not looking for ructions, I'm not looking for fights. I just want to talk about football with like-minded people, and these people were being absolutely horrible. They never even met me before, never discussed it, and they never said anything. On the Thursday, the Friday, the Saturday, or before kick-off, or before half-time, or before full-time. On the Sunday, only after they'd bookmarked. I was informed by my more experienced in social media friends that my tweet had been bookmarked so that they knew to get in touch with me if Celtic won the game on the Sunday, which they duly did. So I'm hoping to avoid that tomorrow. But that is one of the many reasons. I think that can be the only reason. I think that there's animus, there is animosity. There's a bit of tension between Rangers and Celtic fans. I can't think of anything else. But that's one of the reasons. I'm really hoping Rangers win tomorrow. But it's also the very reason I'm so nervous, but you can't control it. I know it's something that was done in fever pitch 30 odd years ago. It's become a total cliche, a trope of football fandom, but you can't do anything. And if you're not even at the game, you can't even tell yourself that you're cheering your team on. That you're helping directly in that way. When I played football, I was an insult to football, an insult to the term football. I was a fat mess, an insult to the term player. But I was a fat mess even before I was overweight. Even when I was skinny, I was a fat mess when it came to playing football. Absolutely awful. But I could go for a wee jog between games. I could try not to eat as much. I could try to avoid the bevy, or maybe just stick to pints, not have any spirits or something like that. Get to your bed early stuff. I could make some sort of effort to make myself a better footballer. And during the actual football I was playing, during the actual games I was allowed to play in, I could try harder by my own standards. Even if it meant when it came to the fives, I'd just get out the road and go in goals to let the players, the decent players get on me. I could actually have a direct effect, but I can't do it. I'm absolutely helpless. This game is going to ruin my life tomorrow if Rangers get beat. And yet, I can't do anything about it. It's something I'm not actually... So we need to win it. So I need to... We'll come on to that. We'll come on to how much we need to win it and why I think we need to win it and how we're going to go about possibly winning this game tomorrow. We'll come on to that in a few minutes' time. But thank goodness there's other more menial stuff, transfer news to distract us from the tension of tomorrow's game. Fabio Silva, young Portuguese chap arriving on loan from that repository of Portuguese talent, which is Molineux, coming on loan from Wolverhampton Wanderers. 21 years old. He's been at Wolves since signing from Porto as a kind of wunderkind of European football back in the summer of 2020. So he's been there for over 3.5 years and has yet to nail down a first team spot. He's been warming the bench a lot of the time. A forwards, like our manager's superb press conference style was something else we're going to come on to discuss. But he was talking about him today. He would hardly dare nail down more than he's a forward. He's a forward. He can score goals. He can create goals if we want him to. There's different positions we can play him in. The manager, Philippe Clement, wouldn't say what we're going to do with him. But yeah, he's very much a forward, and a lot of Rangers supporters comparing him to young Amad Diallo, the loan spell he had for 6 months, a season and a half ago, and I don't really get it at all. Amad Diallo was born on the 11th of July, 2002, whereas Fabio Silva was born the 19th of July, 2002. Amad Diallo, he was the first player to score in Serie A who was born in the year 2002, whereas Fabio Silva was the first player to score in the English Premier League who was born in the year 2002. We've played both Wolves and Manchester United in Europe, have Rangers. But apart from that, I just don't see the coincidence at all. 30 odd million Wolverhampton Wanderers signed him from Porto. He played against Rangers. He came on for the last 15 minutes of normal time. When we played Porto, we beat Porto 2-0 at Ibrox in the 2019-20 Europa League group stages. That was a season he was kind of breaking through in Portugal. And he's like Diallo, it's all these youngest achievement. He's the youngest at this, youngest at that. He's the youngest guy ever to play first team football for Porto. Was the youngest guy ever to score for Porto in the Taça de Portugal. He's the youngest guy then ever to score in the league for Porto. And I think the youngest guy to score for them in Europe, or certainly the youngest guy to appear for them in Europe, but that was when they played Young Boys Bern earlier. It wasn't the night he came on at Ibrox, but that's put a bit of pressure on him. By the way, you're welcome. You're welcome. He did say that the atmosphere, the warmth of the atmosphere he felt that night at Ibrox was what persuaded him to come to Rangers. Remember, Steve Davis scored. Alfredo scored the first goal, was at 69 minutes, and Steve Davis scored about 4 or 5 minutes later. So he comes on straight after Steve Davis scored the second goal to put us 2-0 up, does Fabio Silva, and it stayed 2-0. So it didn't make things any worse, But I was at that game that night, so I'm part of the atmosphere that persuaded a £35 million forward player to come and join Rangers. Me sitting there for that quarter of an hour, he was on the park going, just like the thing if Porto pulled 2 goals back. I think we'll probably woke them up there. They could probably win this game. They could probably win the game 3-2. And Davey, how long did you have to queue for a pie up there? It's the whole of half time. I'm going to have to start leaving before half time if I'm getting any chance of getting a pie up there. You think the supervisor would egg them on? I know they're just young folk and that kind of thing, but there must be some sort of kind of profit scheme going on up there. They must be, if they sell more pies, they're making more money for Rangers, but they're so slow, the service up there. That's the kind of atmosphere that I was creating at Ibrox that night that persuaded Fabio Silva that he should join Rangers. So yeah, you're welcome. Don't send money. I just want your gratitude. But how grateful are we going to be for Fabio Silva joining us? I think one thing we can all already be grateful for is that we got Niels Coppen in as our Director of Recruitment. I didn't think he was supposed to start until the 2nd of January, but he was at PSV Eindhoven, of course, Niels Coppen. That's who we're getting him from, and it was PSV Eindhoven was one of the loan spells that Fabio Silva has already had. He had 6 months, I think, at Anderlecht, so that's a big club in the Belgian league, which is on a par with the SPFL Premiership, if not far better, a good level to be playing at. And then he went to, still can he do it at Wolves, so he went to PSV Eindhoven in Eredivisie and scored the winning penalty in last season's, I think it was the season before, in the KNVB, the Dutch Cup final. He come on as a substitute for your friend and mine, Luc de Jong, in extra time, and then he takes the penalty that helps them beat Ajax in De Kuip. So that was at De Kuip final in the same group stage. He played for Porto. He didn't play in the game in Porto. We drew 1 each with Porto in that group stage 2019-20. But remember, we beat Feyenoord at home and we drew with them in De Kuip as well. So it's all kind of interlinked. But Niels Coppen, director of whatever he was directing at PSV Eindhoven, and now he's scored. He's must have had something to do with Fabio Silva arriving at Ibrox. Maybe that's something for Celtic. If Rangers want to do the business tomorrow, that's another one. Celtic could maybe start protesting about that to UEFA. How come a guy that's not supposed to arrive as a director until the 2nd of January has had an influence on a signing that arrived on the 28th of December? So that's one to bookmark, folks. But yeah. Where Silva's going to play, we don't know. So what is a player who's not eligible to play for us until Tuesday next year, Tuesday night against Kilmarnock? How's he going to affect tomorrow's game? An Old Firm game where a player that's been signed but isn't eligible to play is going to have an influence on the game. Yes, Rangers does. Fellow Rangers does. You'll remember, like me, the 1989 Scottish Cup final. Rangers going for the treble, playing Celtic in the Scottish Cup final. A Celtic team had beaten 5-1 and 4-1 at Ibrox that season. We'd beat them at Parkhead in the league for the first time in 9 years. We finished 10 points ahead of them. They were third place. This is the days of 2 points for a win, and they beat us 1-0 in the Scottish Cup final to stop Graham Souness winning the treble. By the way, if we're going to talk about refereeing conspiracies and paranoia, you should see the throw-in that Celtic got that day. Have a look at that on YouTube that led to their goal. But they were boosted, Celtic, that day by the news that Maurice Johnston was going to re-sign for them after his spell at Nantes. This is May 1989, and the whole Celtic team, maybe the players were thinking we better get ourselves going here if we're going to keep our place in the team with Maurice Johnston arriving. But certainly the whole Celtic support felt, this is going to be the turning point. We're going to win the league next season with mojo back. Didn't quite work out like that. But just the feeling that the guy was going to arrive refreshed the Celtic team to give them enough belief to turn round their form of that season and beat us in that Scottish Cup final that day. So I already feel that the big thing with Rangers just now being the amount of players we've got in the treatment table to know that we're going to get some proper transfer business done, and we're giving this guy we're having a roll of the dice perhaps. But Sima wasn't setting the heather on fire at Brighton and Hove Albion. And yet he's been absolutely fantastic for us. And so talking of a player that we've signed but who can't play tomorrow, is a player that has been here and is very much going to be playing tomorrow, but who won't be able to play for us after the winter break. At first, Abdallah Sima. Yeah, he's been selected for the Senegal squad. Congratulations to him. Congratulations to Abdallah, and it's a total compliment, a sign of our love for him. The fact that we're all gutted that he's going to be going to the Africa Cup of Nations, which starts on the 13th of January and goes on to the 11th of February. Senegal are the holders. AFCON 2023, as it is, even though it's been played in 2024, been hosted in the Ivory Coast. It's one of these stupid tournaments where they have 24 teams involved. 24 teams involved, so you end up, they're split into 6 groups of 4. It's only 8 teams that go out during the group stage. They have the 4 best third place teams also go through to the next round, because you've got to try and create a last 16. 12 teams, the top 2 teams in each group is, no enough for quarterfinals, not too many for quarterfinals, and no enough for a last 16, so they end up doing that. What crazy Africans, exactly the same thing they're doing in the Euros. So there's no way. We've obviously got the winter break. We'll be away for our winter sun training session in Spain. And it's bad. It's bad enough, I think, that Sima won't be there and learning the new tactics or whatever that the managers, Philippe Clement, is putting into the players. But the fact that we're playing Dumbarton on the 20th in the Scottish Cup. I would like to think we could handle Dumbarton in the Scottish Cup without any need for Abdallah Sima. But we've got Hibs on the 24th of January. That one of our 2 games in hand. That's at Easter Road. That's a massive game. Absolutely huge game. Whether we win, lose or draw tomorrow, that's going to be colossal. You'd really want Sima involved in that. But the group stage it lasts until the 23rd of January. In AFCON, and Senegal, who say are the holders. They won it without Sima. Sima's not got a lot of caps for Senegal because they are a cracking team. Did you see Nottingham Forest beating Newcastle last week? There, they beat them 3-1. I know that the hat trick was scored by a guy from New Zealand for Nottingham Forest, but they had a Senegalese player who was running Newcastle absolutely ragged at St James's Park. They're a cracking squad, Senegal. So I was kind of hoping that they might miss Sima out, but no, he's away. Their group contains Cameroon, Guinea, and Gambia. So there's no way they're going to finish bottom of that group. Now, Cameroon, if you put it into European terms, Cameroon are probably the Netherlands. Guinea, kind of Switzerlandish. Guinea, they're kind of there or thereabouts. Gambia, you're looking at maybe, I don't know, Bosnia, Kosovo, perhaps. Senegal are going to go through to the next stages, even if they were to miraculously finish bottom of their group or one of the 2 worst third place teams and get knocked out. It would be the day before we played Hibs at Easter Road, and that's in Yamoussoukro in Cote d'Ivoire. And as you know, Yamoussoukro is an absolute nightmare because it's Ryanair that fly for there, so they go just direct to Prestwick, so he's still going to get the train from Prestwick all the way up to Glasgow. Absolute nightmare. He's not going to be playing against Hibs at Easter Road. After that, he'd be struggling probably for fitness even to play against St Mirren. These are the 2 toughest games we've got when the league resumes, I would say, in the time of the Africa Cup of Nations. It played up until the 11th of February. We've got Hibs away, we've got St Mirren away on the 27th of January. the last 16 games, I think they start on the 27th of January, and in AFCON they go through to the 29th, and he scored against St Mirren and Paisley the last time we played St Mirren away, did Abdallah Sima, so he'll be a real miss for that one as well. I think we've got Livy at home on the 3rd of February, which is the stage of the quarterfinals of the Africa Cup of Nations. I can't see Senegal failing to get to the quarters. We've got Aberdeen at home on the 6th of February, a tough game if they keep up their kind of form against us this season. And again, that's like semi-final time in AFCON. So I really can't see them coming back. It's 11th of February that Senegal win their second straight Africa Cup of Nations. Probably that's the day of the final. And we've got St Johnston the 17th of February. That's probably as soon as he's going to be back, I would imagine. So it's a real massive miss for us. But it's good that he's getting to play tomorrow. That's some sort of catharsis for what happened to us in Ange Postecoglou's first season as Celtic manager. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst had Rangers going well. Celtic were looking terrible, and then the winter break get moved forward so that we didn't have to play. We didn't have to play Celtic at Parkhead when we were supposed to. We had we lost Joe Aribo he went to AFCON with Nigeria. And we also lost Alfredo Morelos, didn't we? He didn't play a single minute, but he went to Copa America with Colombia. So and Celtic were allowed to get a few players back as well, make a few new signings. So that was a badging for us. So at least we're going to have Sima in the most important game we've got in the league in the whole period just now. Despite what the manager said, the whole kind of festive period, the whole kind of January, early February onwards. This is a massive game tomorrow, despite what Philippe Clement says. It's no just another 3 points. So at least we've got him playing tomorrow, and hopefully he can do us a big favour that we can live off until he comes back. And all the best to him. That's congratulations to Abdallah Sima. He certainly deserves that, even though it doesn't suit us. The manager, his pre-match presser today, absolutely brilliant. He's just it's a tour de force. I love listening to Philippe Clement in these press conferences. The only thing we know for sure is that Roof is out. Roof won't be playing. That's the only thing we learned. He slipped in that he's out for a few weeks. Kamar Roof, that's his injury. Everything else was kind of up in the air. And Connor Goldson, he trained. Remember Connor Goldson coming off early at Fir Park, giving us the fear. He trained, but the manager still refused to confirm to Mark Benstead of Sky Sports if that meant Connor Goldson was going to play tomorrow, because he's got to go and observe the training session, film the training sessions, and he watches the training sessions afterwards. And then Connor Goldson still got between the training session today and kick off tomorrow to feel a wee tweak or whatever in that injury that he had. So it was quite right not to confirm that. But it is games. He said, I don't like to play games. I don't like to say that a player's going to come back, because then if he doesn't come back if from injury, if he feels that injury recurring, then it'll look like I'm trying to play games, i.e. mind games with the opposition manager. And I don't like to do that. It's all you're doing, Philip, and I absolutely love you for it, big man, because you're great at it. He mentioned, I think Lundstrom and Barisic were asked about, and he kind of included them in this general kind of melange of there's a whole lot of players in the same situation, basically as Goldson, who are training, but I need to look at how they recover from the training session to see if they're playing tomorrow. So I've no idea if Borna Barisic is going to be in the team tomorrow, if John Lundstrom's going to be back in the team tomorrow, if Ryan Jack or Nico Raskin are going to be back in the team tomorrow. Absolutely no idea whatsoever. He never used the word Celtic once. I don't think he said the word Celtic in that entire press conference the day before we play Celtic. He said the word Celtic in his pre-match interview against Sky. On Sky. It was against Sky as far as he's concerned. He probably sees every interview as a battle. Last Sunday, because he was trying to explain why Motherwell weren't a pushover, because they'd gone to Parkhead and got a draw despite them being in on this really terrible run, and he was trying to bum up Motherwell because the interviewer, that Luke Shanley's, trying to say, Motherwell are terrible, it should be a walkover, shouldn't it? Well, they drew with Celtic, and he quickly said, so they're playing well against the old firm. It's the only time I've heard him saying the word Celtic the whole time he's been at Rangers, and that's absolutely fantastic. That's definitely the way to do it, because his whole thing has been to focus on the next game. The next game is the most important. The task at hand is the most important. And yet today, when he knows that we as the support and the entire media have been thinking that this game against Celtic at Parkhead is the most important one we're going to have in the league. We've been thinking about it that way since the last time we played Celtic, when they beat us at Ibrox in the early part of the season. today, suddenly it was, no, he's back to the marathon analogy. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So the 3 points that are available tomorrow count as much as the 3 points. We could get beat off Kilmarnock on Tuesday night if we're not careful. Suddenly, when the next game, we must always focus on the next game. The next game is Celtic at Parkhead. No, it's not about tomorrow. It's about the whole thing, the whole league season. It takes for it. Absolutely brilliant. He just keeps a balance about everything. Ronnie Esplin hadn't even finished the question about there's no away fans at the game tomorrow, no Rangers fans are going to be there. Is that an advantage or disadvantage? How does that make you feel? You hadn't even got the first kind of couple of clauses of that question out, Ronnie, before Philippe Clement jumped down his throat with it. But they'll be there in our hearts. They'll be there in our hearts, which I thought was absolutely magic. And he's saying, it spoils the spectacle somewhat. It's a total anodyne answer about that. What else was he talking about? Because he wasn't really talking about anything. That's the whole thing. Did you want to play Ross County during the week? Oh, I was gutted that game was off. You and I, podders, people, Rangers fans, I'll idiots like me will come onto pods and talk for ages about why it was good for us not to have played Ross County during the week. So the manager is in duty bound to come out and balance that up by saying why he was dying to play against Ross County. He knows the conspiracy theories. He knows what's going on here, that it's seen as some sort of advantage. He's just not having that at all. And it's something he can't control. It's impossible to say whether you get an advantage or a disadvantage from stuff that you can't control. You can't control the weather. That's what cancelled the game against Ross County during the week. So it's impossible to say whether that's an advantage or a disadvantage. I only try and control what we control. He's just brilliant. He's just keeping everything totally balanced as we go into this game. And if it was all about press conferences, then I think we would be top of the league by about 10 points. I think for Rangers tomorrow, it's about exploiting the fault lines, 2 specific fault lines at Celtic. The second one being the rift that's clearly there between the board, the Celtic board, and the certain areas, certain segments, certain sections of the Celtic support. They're not getting on too well with Peter Lawwell just now, accusing him of deliberately throwing away the league to help Rangers. That's a very long-winded argument, which I've had trouble understanding. But apparently, their own Mr. Lawwell, their own member of the board, is conspiring against Celtic. So that's a new one on me. But there's definite tensions there. The stuff that's going on with the Green Brigade, their singing section, if you like, being barred from the stadium, then allowed back in, and them declaring that they are the fans, they are the club, whereas the board are just the board, which is quite interesting when you think about the stuff they used to tell us about what happened to us in 2012. That's there to be, if we can do anything tomorrow, even a draw. I think if Celtic fail to beat us tomorrow, depending on how the draw happens, maybe if we're 2-0 up and Celtic end up coming back to 2 each in the dying seconds, it will seem like a triumph at the time. I don't think so. I think Celtic need to win this to keep things going. But the other fault line I feel that we really need to exploit is that, which is always going to happen when a new manager comes in. Brendan Rodgers, it's his second spell at Celtic, but very much the new manager coming in after Ange Postecoglou, and Postecoglou was successful. Won the league both seasons he was there, added a cup to it the first season, won the treble last season, and played a style of football that was very forward going and really suited the Celtic's idea of themselves. It's kind of all out attacking entertainers, razzle dazzle, all that kind of stuff. So when Brendan Rodgers is coming in there, is obviously going to have a problem, because it's not like Philippe. It's the exact opposite. Philippe Clement coming in to take over from Michael Beale. We're like, I please anybody. We'll take it. A lamppost can come in and replace Michael Beale and do a better job. We got to the point with Michael Beale this season very quickly where we knew it just wasn't working. He just had to go. So, and the fact we've got Philippe Clement in, who seems to be a bloody decent European standard manager, absolutely fantastic, made it so much the better. So he's doing well, Philippe Clement. The scene was set for him to come in and be accepted and having to go well. Brendan Rodgers, not only is it going to be difficult for him to follow on from a successful act like Ange Postecoglou, but a lot of Celtic fans, for some reason, were really bitter about him leaving, when obviously that's all he was ever going to do the first time he was at Celtic. He gave them like a treble and an unbeaten domestic season. That's a phenomenal achievement, but even though Rangers were just back in the top flight for the first time since we're about in the lower leagues that season. Was it 2016-17? But that's a phenomenal achievement, but it counted for nothing when he left. A lot of them wanted him shot by a bullet from the IRA. They said the same thing about Nacho Novo, these guys, but that's fine. But it's definitely, he's not particularly welcome. He wasn't welcomed unanimously by the Celtic support when he come back, Brendan Rodgers, and he's also having to follow up with Ange Postecoglou. There's an established system there under Postecoglou, very distinct, and Brendan Rodgers hasn't worked abroad. Postecoglou, an Australian, so total Anglophone, what have you. What Australians are like. They understand Europe, they understand Europeans, they've got that hatred of the English, so they understand what it's like to work in Scotland. And of course, Postecoglou had worked in Japan as well, knew the Japanese scene really well, how to exploit that in terms of signings, and that we'd know how to work with these players. Celtic got so many Japanese players there, he certainly knew how to get the best out of them. So Rodgers has got to come in and try and make it about him being the boss, but at the same time he's got these players who are used to working with one other guy who is really suited to them. So there's going to be tensions there. Celtic, although we've had a terrible season at the start of the season, Celtic pretty much the same. They've dropped points in 5 league games. We've dropped points in 4, but they've lost 2. They've lost once home and once away. We've lost 3. We both lost away to Kilmarnock in the league. We lost at home, of course, to Aberdeen and to Celtic when they came to Ibrox in the first Old Firm game of the season. Celtic losing at home to Hearts, losing away to Kilmarnock, drew away to Hibs, drew at home with St Johnstone and Motherwell. So I think they've dropped 11 points, we've dropped 12 or something like that, or maybe it's the other way around, but we've played 2 games less, so perhaps if we played another league game, we'd have dropped the exact same amount of points as Celtic. It's really, really tight. Celtic, although they played in the Champions League group stage, I think they lost about 4 games in Europe this season. We've played a couple of qualifiers and Europa League group stages, but we've only lost twice in Europe this season, although we had the embarrassment of losing in Cyprus. They had the embarrassment of getting beat 6-0 by Atletico Madrid in Madrid, which I think, the circumstances and that, the two of them kind of work out to being about the same thing. But being unbeaten at home in Europe, there is that. 5 games we've had at Europe this season. So I think the two teams are pretty well matched over the course of the season so far. What really got me, and maybe we should end up thanking, depending on how things go tomorrow and by the end of the season, but we want to be in a situation where we're thanking Michael Beale for chucking that first Old Firm game of the season, because I think if they'd lost that as well, Brendan Rodgers might well be out of a job by now, and Celtic would have a much more liked manager in the door, a better atmosphere. That's the thing tomorrow. It's going to be a hell of an atmosphere. Celtic might well, they usually would be loving the fact, not loving it, but it would suit them that Rangers seem to be the form team with the fans behind them just now. They'd be waiting for us tomorrow. Absolutely suit them for us to come in there thinking we're a bit of a team, thinking we've got things going, and they'd be quite happy to blow us away. That's happened a few times over the last few years, but tomorrow, I don't think that's. I think the manager has got us completely focused, and it wouldn't take much to turn that Celtic crowd fully against our team. We saw ourselves from completely the other way around. At Ibrox, no away fans at Ibrox earlier this season. We end up booing our players off the park like we've never booed them before because there's no Celtic fans in the stadium. It's funny, we just completely forget that everybody's watching on telly, but there's no Celtic fans in the stadium to make that more kind of shameful or whatever. So I think although you can back your team vocally completely with no away fans in the stadium, it also quickly turns to an ire that wouldn't normally be displayed to that level in an Old Firm game when your team's not doing well. So we've got to try and build on them booing Santa basically when they lost at home to Hearts. We've got to try and tap into that atmosphere pretty quickly, and I think just keeping Celtic at bay will do that. Old Firm games, at Parkhead in particular, I think it's the one time where the keep it quiet for the first 20 minutes applies to Rangers in Scottish football. I'm always, if we can get a couple of attacks even in the first 5 or 10 minutes at Parkhead, I usually think we're going to do okay. It's going to be okay. We've got a real chance in there. But there's also been Old Firm games recently at Parkhead where we've been completely overwhelmed early doors. Twice under Giovanni Bronckhorst, twice in 2022, we were 3-0 down at half time at Parkhead. So if Celtic are really fired up for this, they've got their own injury problems as well. I don't think Cameron Carter-Vickers is going to be playing for them from what I see, and I think it's a big loss for them. But of course, he wasn't playing at Ibrox, and when Michael Beale played directly into their their strengths. The thing about that game was, that game at Ibrox was, I think their best player, Callum McGregor. They've got more spectacular players, but I think their captain is definitely their best player, their most influential player. And he'd been having a bit of a bad season, a bit of a bad start to the season. They'd already gone out the League Cup to Kilmarnock as well. And Rodgers wasn't, they'd been booed off the park the previous week for drawn with St Johnston, and they had a brand new centre half pairing at Ibrox that day. They've got no supporters in the stadium, so we punt the ball. We don't have anybody on their captain, and we just punt long balls, which every centre half in the world would lap up. It was an amazing display under Michael Beale, and the day the writing really was on the wall for him. But we let them kind of play themselves. We let McGregor come back in to get his confidence back. We gave Rodgers a marquee result, as they'd call it, to get some more of his doubters at Parkhead back on side. And I would just love to think that hopefully by full time tomorrow, if not by the end of the season, we'll be really grateful for Michael Beale's actually played a blinder there by letting Brendan Rodgers stay on. But it's a game you can get absolutely hammered, or we could come away with a win. I don't think we're in any position to be hammering Celtic right now. I don't think anything like that's going to happen. I would hope that the big one for me is Connor Goldson. We've got to have Connor Goldson back. I think if we want to win this game, he's our best centre half, and you will need your centre halves at Parkhead. I would love Lundstrom to be back as well. I would love. I don't even know how maybe the manager's going to alter the tactics tomorrow. We really don't know. The information that Philippe Clement gives you, the man who doesn't play games. I wouldn't be surprised if he went out there tomorrow and the midfield was John Lundstrom, Nico Raskin, Ryan Jack and Steve Davis, and we had Danilo and Kamar Roof up front. It's just don't know what he's going to do. But Todd Cantwell's got to keep the heat and apply himself the right way. It's a situation that's ripe for him to lose the plot. I don't mean to sound like I doubt Todd Cantwell is a fantastic player, but I think there definitely is a temperament thing there, which he plays on the edge, and we need that, but we just don't want him going over the edge tomorrow. So he's got to put it all into his play. What was it Alec McLeish used to say? Was it fire in the heart but ice in the veins kind of thing? That kind of attitude from. We need that from all the players tomorrow. Kieran Dowell and Dujon Sterling, as we're sitting two in midfield, I would be fearful about that. They've not enough game time together, but a game and a half together, that's the one thing we could really have used them playing against Ross County the other night. That's the one benefit for us. If that game had been played, it would have given them more game time together. Although, as I was saying at the time, knowing us, one would probably get injured, the other one would get sent off and get suspended for tomorrow. So I would love to see John Lundstrom back in there tomorrow. I think we really need him to have any hope of winning the game anyway. The team we've played it, we fielded it Motherwell with Ridvan Yilmaz at left back as well. I want Borna back. I want Borna back in at left back tomorrow. I know he's had a couple of nightmares at Parkhead, but so is John Lundstrom. And I think, as I've been calling John Lundstrom the barometer, because we get a good manager and the manager's doing well, John Lundstrom plays well. He's the first guy to show, I think, when you know there's a good feeling in the camp. I think Borna Barisic is a bit like that as well. He might not be dazzlingly brilliant, but he gets back to his competent best, his kind of forensic, concentrated best. Borna Barisic, when the rest of the team's playing well, he's part of making the team play well. It's one of those chicken before the egg type scenarios, but I think he's better for us than Yilmaz when it comes to Parkhead tomorrow. He's certainly got plenty of experience of going to the east of the city. So I would like to have Barisic back, but I think the team that we fielded at Fir Park last week, the starting 11 there, if they were to start tomorrow, you're thinking, well, that's a better team than Hearts. Hearts team that beat Celtic at Parkhead, but we're not going to get the same reception Hearts got. It'll be a different Celtic team we're playing because they will be up for it and focused in a way that they wouldn't have been against Hearts. When I remember, we all watched the highlights of Celtic when they're getting beat, and I remember seeing the amount of spaces there was in the crowd at Parkhead that day. It's an expensive time of year for people, lots of presents to buy and nights out to go, and so that's not saying much, but there won't be any empty seats tomorrow. Not at the kick-off anyway. So we've got to concentrate, get the helmets on, and take the barrage, I would imagine, for the first 20 minutes or so, and see what we can do. I think we need to make a mark, a draw. I would take a draw. And the minute you say that, the draw is we're going to be winning 3-0, and Celtic will end up scoring 3 goals in injury time or something like that. But if I had to take my chances just now, if there's any way you could do that, I would take the draw, because I don't think we're ready to go there and win yet. Any Rangers team that's won the league usually wins at Parkhead. Conversely, any Rangers team that wins at Parkhead usually wins the league. Those are two separate things. Remember, Walter Smith come back halfway through that season, 2006-2007. Uhu Ehiog's overhead kick. I was at that game. One of the last times I was at Parkhead. That was one of the rare times that we won at Parkhead, but didn't actually go on to win the league. But I feel maybe tomorrow it's too soon for that. Dick Advocaat won the treble with Rangers in his first season and he sealed the league title at Parkhead, but his first trip to Parkhead, he get beat 5-1. So we can't read too much into whatever result we get tomorrow. But I think if we lose, we're then 8 points behind with 2 games in hand. Those 2 games in hand become extra burdensome, more than seen as an opportunity as they are just now. We don't want to go 8 points behind and really be genuinely cursing us not having played Ross County the other night. So yeah, just keep it tight, Rangers. See what you can do, and I hope you've got us in our hearts, and I hope you're not giving us a heart attack. And folks, enjoy the game tomorrow. And as I said the other night, I hope your team wins, and I'll be back with a post-match reaction pod, which I'm hoping is. I was going to say I hope it's much more succinct than this rambling preview pod, but no, I hope I'm going for 50 minutes to an hour because I tend to talk longer when I'm feeling happier. But aye, folks, see you tomorrow. Good luck.